Welcome everybody. I'm Jason Martin from Speedway Motors and EMI. Today we're going to go over how to properly square your rear end in your sprint car. The rear axle assembly is very tricky for some. We're going to try to make it as easy as possible and show you the best possible way that I've found over my 15 or 20 years of racing experience. A lot of guys call every day asking how to do this, so here we're going to walk you through the easy steps that we've figured out how to do. So first of all, you're going to want to set your rear end on some 6-inch blocks. And if you have a raised rail car, obviously you're going to have a 5-inch block on the left side. Now this measurement changes depending on, some manufacturers want a little taller, some want a little shorter, but 6-inch is going to be the measurement that you want to go to for the right side, 5-inch on the left side. So what you're going to do is you're going to put, I like to use PVC, and it's simply because whenever you go to slide the axle around, the PVC will hold it and it won't let the axle fall off and end up breaking your shifter cable or your brake lines or what have you. So just a piece of 4 or 5-inch PVC works just fine. You can also use your setup blocks with the 6-inch spacers built into them, so those work just fine. You just got to be careful not to knock it off. So you're going to get that on 6-inch blocks. You're going to take and level the race car. And what I like to do is I just like to use, a 3-foot squaring level. And I just like to come up here to the front right by the motor and just make sure that the car's level. And you don't have to have it this way because you can level off the birdcage later a different way, but this is just the most easiest way. So just make sure the car's level. We're sitting there level. And if you want to do that, all you got to do is just put a jack underneath the front and jack it up. It's not a big deal. So you're going to get that level. Then what you're going to do, you're going to take a tape measure. I like to use the widest and strongest tape measure that you can, because a lot of times I'm here by myself doing it, and you don't need 2 people to do it this way. If you have a nice wide tape measure, all you got to do is just make sure that your rear axle, you're going to bump it up against the rear axle like so, and you're going to measure it. We're 38 5/8. That's 9 times out of 10. That's the recommended length that you need to have it at. Some engine degree angles vary a little bit. This particular car is a 2-degree motor, so we have to have it just a little bit shorter because the angle changes. So you're going to get 38 5/8 on the right side. You're going to go around to the left side and get 38 5/8. So how you're going to achieve that? With these PVC blocks, it makes it very easy just to slide it one way or the other, and it doesn't take very much. You're going to bump it just a little bit. You're going to come back up here. So there we are, 38 5/8. So now we got this side. We'll go around to the other side, check it, and make sure that we're right. A lot of guys, they worry about if the rear end is in the center of the car. So what they'll do is they'll go in here to the torque tube and they'll put a straight edge down the side and they'll make sure that that's in the center of the car. Well, that doesn't really matter, because if your car's built incorrectly or if you crashed it and get the back end of the car pushed over, it doesn't matter. The rear end's not going to be square if you get it in the center of the car. All that really matters is if the axle is square to the motor plate, and then later on we'll square the front axle to the motor plate so everything runs in a straight line. So you get that 38 5/8. We know that the axle's square to the motor plate. We don't care if it's in the center of the car. Your torque ball is going to be nice and free, which it is nice and free. So there you have everything squared up with the axle. So now you have that done, you're going to square your bird cages or level your bird cages. So what you do is, you know that your frame is level now. You're going to go in here, and the top of these Eagle bird cages, there's a flat where you can put your angle finder, and you're going to rotate this forward to where it's at 0 degrees. Now if you want to go to 1 degree, you can go to 2 degrees. Some guys go 4 degrees, but I recommend not ever going more than 2 degrees. 0 is pretty normal for most all racetracks. If you go to 2 degrees, it's going to help with a little bit of forward drive when the track gets slick. So now that we have that at 2 degrees, we're going to come back here and we're going to take our bolt for the lower birdcage flag. We're going to stick it in here and it doesn't fit. So we're gonna have to change our heim and get it to where it fits, and you want it to slide in nice and free. If you have to force it, what you're doing is moving this bird cage and getting your axle out of square again. So you want to just make sure that it fits nice and easy. So there we have it. So now we have our bird cage timed at 0 degrees or 1 degree or 2 degrees, however you prefer. We've got our rear arm link set. And one thing that I always like to do when I do have my arm link set is I just like to go through here and make sure that the arm slides nice and free. So my torque ball spins nice and free. My rear arm slides nice and free. That means everything's not in a bind. Then when we get all done with that, we're going to set our Jacob's ladder length. What you're going to do is just rotate this up until your pin fits, and we just happen to get lucky and our pin fit just right. But if it didn't, we're just going to rotate the heim until it fits. See there, it's too much. It doesn't just slide right in, so we got to go back. There we go. So now that you got that all done, what I do is I just go through and measure one last time. Just make sure that we're right. So we're going to go through, we're going to measure this. We're right at 38 5/8. We know that our bird cage is at 2 degrees, my personal preference. And we know that the rear arm is nice and free. And also our Jacob's ladder is nice and free. So then all you got to do is go back in and tighten all your jam nuts for your radius rods, tighten your rear arm jam nut, tighten your Jacob's ladder jam nut, and just make sure that everything's good and tight. You also got to put your little bolt for the stop on the bottom of the birdcage flag. You got to make sure and put that in there, otherwise that bolt will fall out. But other than that, it's a really easy process. It doesn't take more than one person to do it. And I hope you guys feel that you've learned everything you need to learn from squaring a rear end.